Hey guys, we're back in Stormworks again. Yeah, my Stormworks videos are not nearly as popular as my Railroads Online videos. And too bad, I like Stormworks. But today, let's play Stormworks as if it were Railroads Online. We can't actually build rail here. I mean, we can engineer vehicles and various other machinery like this tyranny response tool, which actually is we're finding out is a very effective anti-tyranny device, and so everybody should have one at this point. But the point here is to look at the Sawyer Islands and play with ideas for designing a rail network to cover that, and by extension, on additions to the map, which may either make sense or just be a hell of a lot of fun, and just so mainly this will be a brainstorming session where I got my trusty tyranny response tool, a couple of locomotives I spawned weeks ago, and this good old car, which is nice, reliable transportation. Okay, yeah, it's going to close up there. Okay, it's good to go. So, to start out with, and again, pretending this were Railroads Online instead of Stormworks, what we would do is we would look at the map and try to figure out how we're going to know what kind of rail we need. Now, there isn't much on the map. I mean, like the entire eastern half of the island is basically empty, and there's not much in the southwest either. So, really, it's kind of working from scratch here. Now, all right, the first subject I want to get into is the schema. Now, before building a rail network, it's always good to have a schema for how you want to design it. Now, I came up with 4 basic schemas for how to design a rail network. The first schema is the mainline and branch schema. The point of the mainline is not to reach any specific destination, but rather you would run the mainline, let's say across the map like that. You just run the mainline just all the way across, or however makes sense given the geography. And then whatever destination you want to connect to the mainline, you run a branch line to the main line. So you might have double rail for the main line itself, and then you would join it with single track branch lines or loops, and that's how I did it on my Railroads Online map. Another on the schema is the loop schema, where you would just have a single track loop all the way around the map, something like that. And then you would, if it's not directly adjacent to a destination, you just have a little a siding which would visit that destination and then return to the loop. And then maybe in the island that's kind of rectangular like this, you might have a cross cut where you could where a train wouldn't have to travel all the way around a loop to reach a destination. Like, let's say the rule for the loop is all trains travel counterclockwise, and you want to go from here to there, and that's crap. So you travel there, cut across, and go there. Right? That is the second schema, the loop schema. So we looked at the main line, the loop. The third schema that makes a lot of sense is the Grand Central Station schema, where you pick a central location, or let's maybe the airport or something like that, or just let's say it's here, and you have a Grand Central Station. Then now from that station, you radiate lines out to every point on the compass. Now these branch lines could maybe visit 2 or 3 stations on their way to the end of the line, and so basically that network would work. That trains would travel their respective lines, And then when they reached the Grand Central Station, they would unload their passengers and their cargo, and then the cargo would sort itself onto the new trains. And then the people would be picked up and placed on the adjoining connecting trains, and then that's how that schema works. Now, finally, you could have a sort of the default schema is the ad hoc schema. Let's say you had coal here and you needed it down there, so you just make a line from there to there. Okay, there your coal's connected. Let's say you wanted passengers from here to here, and you make a line from there to there. And so you probably have more track than, the downside to that is you have more track than you need. And whenever you need a train to do something that you don't have a track specifically for, it gets very, very inefficient. So like you might have, let's say you want to get a train, passengers from there to there, so you'd have to find a way and find a point on the line where it joins to the other line, and get it on there, and then now traffic on the coal line will have to wait for the traffic on that line to use that route. So it just gets, I mean, it's very efficient for what it's directly built for, but then it gets very, very inefficient for what it's not built for. So those are the four basic schema there. And let's look at destinations on the map. Let's first visit Holt Town, and we'll just get in our car here and go visit it. The car does not have an idle function. There's very, very minimal electronics. Take off the brake. I'm on analog controls. Just give it a very little bit of throttle and take off. Now, this car has only 2 gears, but it just, I mean, let's just see what it does. I mean, let's just give it everything. And it going like 80 miles an hour, and woohoo! Yeah, so that's how you don't drive that car. Yeah, I was showing somebody else on that truck over there. That's why it's on its side. Anyway, so we sort of have a notch here that goes to Holt Town. We have, let's just stay off, sort of scope out what we might want to do with a rail line here. Now, the Holt Town you'd probably want the same type of station you have on the Donk and the line near the Donk Village, where you just have a platform next to the destination. Alright, so you got a little bit of a notch over there, and you have a little bit of agriculture there, which is strange. Like you have actively in use fields. Okay, great, fields. Well, where's the barn? Where's the farmhouse? I mean, you got houses over there. Okay, now, and that's kind of a little bit far from the actual fields, and the only thing you have actually near the fields are these ruins. So, okay, well, let's just move on, not think about that too hard. Now, in Holt Town, I mean, we got a dense forest, so I have to go first person to find a way through here. Okay, and now we have a ferry dock over sort of a waterfront that, and I think on the Stormlink mod is using as a ferry dock. And Stormlink, of course, has in addition to the ferry terminal, it also adds a bus terminal here. And then, of course, we have the town center there. I have 4-wheel steering on this car. So we have the town center, the ferry terminal / bus terminal, And the apparent, so the line would come in like that, and maybe go in that direction. So yeah, maybe put the rail platform on the north here, and that would kind of make sense. And, again, these are sort of ideas. Now the normal use for that would be passengers. Then you would have, of course, you'd want to have connections between the ferry network, the rail network, the ferry network, the bus network. So you probably have a lot going on at that station. Now here, I want to sort of take a little meander and yeah, why can't I'll just have to go first person drive this across here, yeah. Turn on my own lights. Come on. Yeah, the steering's very touchy, the accelerator's very touchy. The brakes, however, have a geometric curve on both the steering and the brakes, so it should be relatively controllable. I mean, that is, I just, like, the brake signal is, I just take the any negative number there and then square it, and then that's my brake signal. I do, basically, the steering is a tiny bit more complicated, so it's like the steering times the absolute value of the steering, and that's my steering angle. And I was playing around with the Ackerman steering on this car, so it actually attempts to do Ackerman steering. Now it also has four-wheel steering, and it also has a speed dependency on the steering. Like, where at low speeds, the center of the car is in the middle of the car. Now, as I accelerate, the center of steering will move to behind the car. And the math on mine is completely wrong, probably, and it's probably be very, very difficult math to do that right. It uses an S curve to transition between the two, so there's no hard cutoff speed. It sort of just shifts over to the steering modes. Now here we got this jumbled mess down here, and then all of a sudden it becomes a very cool little road up here, and we'll go up that. Got to be very delicate with this car on this road. The car is pretty reliable up here, but it's a very difficult road. I use this area for testing. Like, if I get a new design, I immediately bring it up here to test it, to make sure everything's working the way I want. Now we kind of run out of road here. We gotta kind of get this area where it's a jumbled mess, and then from here, the road kind of sort of reappears from here. From doing this right now. I'm not even sure I'm on the right path at the moment. Come on, car. Yeah, actually, that's the wrong path. I took the wrong. I mean, that's how a jumbled mess it is. Even though I'm fairly well practiced at this route, I was completely on the wrong path here. Now, back where I said it was a jumbled mess. No, jeez. I can recover from that. Pop the door. Yeah, back where I said it was a jumbled mess, the actual route was not there, but the car has basically unlimited power at this speed, so it's like I don't care. Um, yeah, the actual route was you have to sort of make your way up here, and the road reappears over here, and it becomes a good road again. Very narrow, but very good road at the same time. Yeah, usually I use medium engines are only really needed on trucks, and here I have a medium engine on a basic car. I might switch it to a smaller modular engine, just to have a more balanced driving experience. Then again, it just feels right the way it is. Not that it makes any sense or anything. Now I kind of lose the road again. Now up here, this land, this area on the map at this point, and I'm talking about the, let's see, no, it's not there. Here, this circular area, sort of, it feels like it should be like a research institute, like a science center, or maybe a university campus or something like that. So basically, you might have the cargo would be like passenger service, commuter service, a laboratory equipment, maybe one or two big halls, and like if it produces like it needs a large hadron collider up here, then that might be a special transport item. And again, I'm just brainstorming ideas of like what the land feels like it should be developed as, or like if the land were put on the market, how would it be be sold here? Now, on continuing on our road trip here, the road kind of continues up this very very strange spit of land here. Now it's very narrow, very very tricky maneuvering. And you have to go. Anything that isn't very well designed will fall off this, and there's only probably with this car about a 60% chance I'll make it. But I am fairly well practiced. As you can see, it's a spit of land over a ravine on both sides, and a very very strange landform here. So we'll come across this, and kind of have to concentrate a little bit now. Then there's a tricky part here, like some of my rigs can't make it over this. Okay, we cleared that little obstacle. All right, I should be clear. I don't want to gun it because this thing's too powerful. So just nice, easy on the throttle here. Yeah, as you can see, we're back on a very, very reasonable road up here. It's a little bit rough, but still very reasonable road. Okay, this is the top of this. Let's find a good vantage point and park this for take a look around. Now, with the new volcano here, now that having a volcano on indicates there would be there's usually a volcano, a volcanic observatory to observe the volcano, and also when it's not very active, and it's kind of moderately active right now, that and there would also be a visitor center, because something like that would be a major tourist attraction, and therefore there would be a visitor center, and again, maybe rail access. I'm not sure. So I don't know whether you try to bring a train up here. I mean, remember the limitations on a train is it can only ascend or descend. You'd probably want to keep it under the 3% or under maximum. And maybe a couple, like a spur or a branch segment, maybe up to 5%. And 5% is absolute maximum you'd want to go for a train line. The rate of curve, the curves have to be less curvy than track 4. Track 4 that's wrong. Track 4, much too curvy. I mean, it breaks several of the designs. Make sure my brake's on. Yeah, there we go. So, how would you bring a train to service this area? It's actually not a very good. Kind of see where my I think the gap in the mountain was not really clear. You kind of you could kind of see the notch over there, but it looks like there's like a second notch, so it's kind of hard to see what's actually going on from this angle. So, like what is the pit down there? Is that like a recent digging, and then the rail line would be coming above that, or do you want to punch through that to bring the rail into the actual pit to actually have the transfer station? I mean, it's absolutely essential that you get the coal onto the rail network, because, I mean, there's no. I mean, like, for example, let's say you would have the coal, and let's say we want to get the coal out by trucks. First, you can't really see that truck road down there. You need a see between the first and the second row of lights. You need more lights there to actually see where the darn road is. And at the rail station, you need an elevator to transfer the coal to the cars. And basically, there is a mod to do that, and that's a good mod, but you don't have that right now, and it's like, okay, well, that's a problem. So again, I mean, that's not really clear what you want to do there. So all right, enough of that. Spent too much time on that. Let's go back to the network and look at the other direction. Let's look at O'Neill. Let's go to. All right, let's use the train to get out to O'Neill. I mean, I love this shunter. It's not very useful, not very strong, but and it has no business being on the main line. So let's take this little sucker out and let's just shove the levers forward, and it's just mindlessly. The little small engine in there cannot actually sustain full throttle. It basically tops out at about 70% throttle. I don't care. Let's go full throttle anyway. Let's see, what's our speed? Let's see. Speed is in the center. Let's put some lights on. Okay, speed is going almost 100 miles an hour up I don't know what the grade is here, but we're going uphill nearly 100 miles an hour. I love this thing. Let's kill throttle. Apply brake, hit reverser. I spawned that thing ages ago for a different video on this map, and I think it might have worked on the shunter a little bit since I spawned this, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with this thing. It's just great. Yeah, I've been on battery power since I left. So now that the battery is depleted, the generator is kicking in and trying to keep the battery up. Now, the generator is slowly kicking in, but it's just not strong enough. I might consider looking at a modular engine for this. Then again, I've had terrible luck with modular engines. See my previous video about the modular clutches, and I'd probably want about 120 output from that. I'm not completely sure how I'd go about it. Maybe 4 and probably 6 cylinders for that. And oh well, Sawyer Island's burning down, and as if I care. Yeah, brake, throttle, kill throttle, kill brake. Okay. Thank you, little shunter. Let's see, turn off traction system. Power's low, but it's not something I'm gonna panic about leaving that on. Now we got a passenger station here. Now we got a stock passenger station with a waiting room and a parking lot. Okay, a passenger station with a passenger waiting area, a handicapped accessibility ramp, no stairs but an accessibility ramp, a parking lot, and essentially nothing. I mean, the O'Neill Passenger Airport's over there. There's a building here with living quarters in the bottom. And what is this building? I mean, it's pointed at the track, and it's got communication equipment. So I would venture to guess that this is a rail dispatcher for I don't know what. I think we got another dispatch. We already have another dispatch office on North Harbor. We have a station manager's office over there, or I guess maybe I don't know. I mean, like, you got an office there. I guess I'd cover the harbor and the freight terminal. I don't know. These buildings don't make much sense. Now, if we have a big passenger station here, a fairly major passenger station, actually the most major passenger station on the entire game, and it's next to nothing. So it would, at O'Neill, we have a hangar. We do not have a passenger terminal, even though it's a civilian airport. We have no passenger terminal. We have a hangar. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Now, I'm gonna just I stole this airplane from the game files. I could barely fly it, and it tends to pitch up, and it's not terribly human friendly. The engine it operates in a constant RPM mode, and you just run it forward like that, and I guess it goes airborne, and you're cool, I guess. Now, let's say we had a passenger terminal and we moved the O'Neill station to where it would connect to the passenger terminal. And I guess we would have the parking lot near the passenger terminal and the rail station, and it starts to make sense. I mean, that it starts to make sense. Now, how would you continue on? Now we have this gap in the hills. Now this is... Let's look at the map while flying. So we would run the rail past the station through this notch. Now either you'd go through either this notch or that notch. Maybe let's say we go in here and we go down here and then through that notch. Let's see what it looks like down here. So now what we're doing is what's called truthing, and we'll set a waypoint, set waypoint, so I've unambiguously know where we're going. Come on, now where's the button? Come on, there we go. There we go. Come on, plane. Plane likes to fly inverted. Let's see if we can get out of this corkscrew. Okay, now... Alright, let's say we run the rail through that notch there. Have a pretty nice trip past this lake. And then we have land up here. Now the land up there, what this land up here tells me is agriculture. Like you'd have fields, you'd have cattle, you'd have sheep, and more fields. And so then the attendant industries. Now I guess the farmers would deliver their wares to the grain elevators. So you'd have grain elevators, you'd have meat packing plants, and then not too much because it's a pretty small area still. So I guess those would be the basic industries you'd serve up here. I don't know about that. I don't know what you would use for that the mountain area. Maybe a mine up there. I don't know. So and then obviously you would have the other freight terminal down here, and now right here, if you want to get freight out of the harbor here, you'd either do it two at a time by truck, or I mean, building ships in this game is extremely difficult, very, 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 very time consuming. A lot of work has to go into any ship in this game. I mean, to get you saw me working on the engine and getting everything right. So right now the only way to service South Harbor is by truck and kind of by ship. And loading the ships is putting those containers on the ship. That's a huge problem in itself. There's no gantry. So the ship would have to deploy a loader by itself, or you'd have to spawn a loader somewhere else. Well, consider you'd have to spawn a loader at O'Neill, drive it cross country, so the loader would be basically out of fuel. And by the time it got here, I mean they to be fair, they've added refueling infrastructure at South Harbor. So basically you have to spawn the loader at O'Neill, you have to drive it cross country, you'd have to refuel it at the little station there. I mean, it's not a gas station, but it's just a pump along the main road, which is like, well, I mean, why don't you have a gas station? I mean, you just... Okay, I guess we'll give you credit for having a pump there. And I don't know. Let's continue on. I don't know how long this plane will last. It has very little fuel. Now, I would see why people would want a nice that area looks like where people put vacation homes, or and it looks like a very nice place to live actually. So I sort of expect another town in this area maybe, or just a sort of like a scattered homes and a convenience store, or just a general store in this area. There used to be an organization called Boy Scouts, and it used to be pretty cool. They basically don't exist anymore. They were assassinated by the liberals and left wingers. But I know this would be like a perfect scout camp or a logging area. So you'd have for an industrial development down here. I mean, this is where you'd want your logging industry to be, and you'd probably want to bring your rail out and around this mountain in this direction here, and then you would connect it to sort of there's this kind of weird little cut through the hill here. So I don't know, maybe you'd have an arching bridge that would touch ground there, and then cross here, and then go up this valley here, and then join the other lines. I mean, that's where I would be tempted to lay rail. Now, going in that direction, I guess you could have a boring rail line out to this. I would sort of put a resort community, like a summer resort out on that peninsula down there, and I guess this is the way it would make sense to get out there. Now, there's on the other side of this hill, there's kind of a cut, and a kind of a weird-looking cut, and then if you look at the mountains on this side, there's actually a notch through the mountains. So even though it makes no sense at all, I mean, you'd kind of be tempted to bring a rail line down like that, and then across that cut, and then finally to the town. And that'd be really cool, but it makes no sense. The other than the rail client, and let's get the plane level again. And now, if I were Dr. Evil, I'd build my layer there's a hidden valley right under the volcano, and so that's basically where Dr. Evil would have his lair. He'd be a very reliable rail client. I mean, he would send and receive random packages and random shipping containers. Just do not ask what's in the containers, and that's basically on Dr. Evil's modus of operandi. I mean, he's pissed as hell about Klaus Schwab these days. Oh man, I mean, he never stops talking about Klaus Schwab, because Klaus Schwab has basically taken his entire MO and completely outdid him in everything, and he's pissed. Dr. Evil is just absolutely up there and beside himself with rage at Klaus Schwab. And you can see it on the map here. Let's see where's the map button? Yeah, the map button here. See, this is the hidden valley I'm talking about. So that's where Dr. Evil would hang out. And now, finally, the only other thing on the map is the military sector. On the woohoo. Yeah, that was inevitable. Don't worry about it. Oh well. Let's just pretend that didn't happen and then keep going. This section was penciled in as a military base. So let's assume that this is all military. Now with the weapons DLC, it becomes sort of interesting. Now, what does the military need? They need to bring their recruits in by rail. So the recruits go to the base, they get trained, and then you got the ordnance, the material. So you got the tanks and the artillery pieces, the ordnance, the bullets, the provisions, the troop, and now when on the weapons DLC when. Oh, I'm heading in the wrong direction here. Yeah, I want to go westbound, not back to Holt. I'm running out of fuel, but let's just ignore let's just ignore whether I'm airborne and they. So I don't know. You bring the rail line across that. So basically, the rail would have, I mean, the base would have its own transportation internally, but it would have like a terminal station, so we would bring material in and out. Now, the other issue is deployments. Now, when war comes and the hostile AI impedes, then you'd have two scenarios. One, you have the friendly forces, and they need to make deployments, so they would have like an urgent deployment where they need to train out within the next 20 minutes or something to have a successful deployment. Or they would have a situation where the base has been captured and it needs to be retaken. And I guess you might have destructibles, like where the bridge is destructible, or it becomes a point of contention where where your forces would have to capture the drawbridge terminal and either open the drawbridge to prevent hostile forces from crossing, or close it to allow friendly forces to approach the base. So yeah, there's a lot that could be happening here. Now I think the way I've not really played Weapons DLC myself so much. I know that there's a hostile force which will slowly encroach on the islands available to the player. Now, presumably there would be also friendly forces, and actually it would be more interesting where if the player is not responsible for the entire war effort, but actually participating in the war effort, where the friendly AI would assign the player missions or have missions available for bonus. That okay, we want this such and such deployed to here. We have a convoy here. We want it defended, or stuff like that. So there's a lot of possibility there. But anyway, I made this video just to try to spur the developers on to making progress on the Sawyer rail network expansion and making this game all that much more awesome. And thank you very much for taking a look at my video. And yeah, I know Railroads Online is more popular, but no, I have to like this game. I want it to be awesome. I want more. Yes, I treat this game like a railroad game, and I like building my locomotives. But yeah, I mean, let's just suit my just make it my game and have railroads in it. So again, and thank you very much, and thanks for watching.